Good afternoon. So today I will be starting the creation of the world series. When we first started the Bible study, um, we didn't record right when we started. Okay, so we missed the Bible, we missed the creation, and we missed the end of chapter one and the beginning of chapter two. So this is what we're going to start. We're going to get this on record, okay, or on record. All right, so that others may hear this information. Um, so we're going to start off with just Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 and 2. No, it sounds like not much, but it is a lot. Okay. So I'm going to read it in the New Living Translation, and then I'm going to go back and read it in the King James version. Okay. So we'll start off here. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. Okay. It says, in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and empty, and darkness covered the deep waters. And the spirit of Elohim was hovering over the face of the waters. All right, so we're going to go back to Genesis 1, verse 1, King James Version, and it says just the same thing. Um, In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Okay, the heaven and the earth. First thing that I would like to go through or talk about is the actual words used. Okay, and notice some words I replaced. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to first go into the word God. Okay, we're going to go into the concordance. Okay, that concordance behind God, okay, is H430. Okay, when we click on it, it is Elohim. Okay, that's the Hebrew word Elohim. Okay, and it says plural of H433, and it says gods in the ordinary sense, but specifically used in the plural, thus, especially with the article of the supreme God, big G, um, occasionally applied by way of difference to magistrates, and sometimes as a superlative. Okay, and also angels, exceeding, God, big G, gods, goddesses, godly, um, very, very great, judges, and mighty. Okay, and real quick, I'll go into H433, and this is just the singular form. Okay, and it's aloha. Okay, again, it's just a singular form of Elohim, but most people just use Elohim, but you can be specific at times. Again, it says probably prolonged emphatically. Okay, but I'm going to jump down. It says a deity or the deity, God, big G, God. Okay. All right. So we know what God actually is in the Hebrew tongue. It is Elohim. Okay. Remember, Elohim can be used as singular or as plural. And as we go back to looking at Elohim, it says also angels. Okay. So Elohim can be called angels. All right. So sometimes when the messengers come and they say, Elohim, they say, and God said, okay, that can be Elohim, okay, one of the messengers, Elohim, okay, of Yahuwah, okay. So we're gonna get into that name as well, but um, so don't get confused because you see the word God and think it is directly the Elohim that is speaking to to whoever they're speaking to. Okay, so Elohim, all right, can be the Elohim or one of his messengers, the angels. Okay, All right. So the next word that I want to go into, it says in the beginning. Okay. Beginning. All right. It says in the beginning, Elohim. All right. In the beginning, Elohim. So we're going to look at the word Elohim. Beginning, and is H7225. Okay. The Hebrew word is Rashith. Okay. From the same as H7218, which we'll go into. It says the first. Okay. So Rashid, the first, okay, in place, time, order, or rank, the first. All right, especially a first fruit. Okay, it means beginning, chief, chiefess, first fruits, first part, first time, principal thing. Okay, Rashith. Okay, the beginning. Okay. All right. And it says from the same as. So we're going to go a little bit deeper into H7218. Okay. And it is Rosh. Rosh is the Hebrew letter R. Okay. Hebrew letter R. Okay. And it says from an unused root, apparently meaning to shake. Okay. To shake. All right. To shake. All right. And then it says after that, it says the head. Okay, because that Hebrew letter is a head. Okay, that letter is literally a head. It's shaped like a head. It's drawn like a head. That's that letter. It says the head, as most easily shaken. Okay, rather literally or figuratively in many applications of place, time, rank, etc. Okay, band, beginning, captain, chapter, chief, chiefess, um, place, man, thing. Okay, company, end, every man. So every man is the beginning or is the head of the household. Every man. Okay, excellent, first, forefront, behead, height, on high, on highest. Okay, on highest part, high priest, priest. Okay, lead, poor, principal, ruler, sum, top. All right. So Rosh, right? The beginning, the first. Okay. So in the beginning, Elohim. Okay. So we already know he is the beginning. He is the head. Elohim created. It says in the beginning, Elohim created. All right. So it's already showing you or telling you, okay, this is the Elohim. Okay. He is the most high. Okay. But I want to go into it a little bit deeper. This word chapter. Okay. I like to use this word because it's a good illustration. All right. Of Elohim. All right, so I'm going to look it up. All right, and what is a chapter? A chapter, also known as a capital or cap, okay? It is the top most often ornamental, I'm sorry, part of a column or pillar. It serves to spread the load of the structure above and provides a decorative transition between the straight shaft of the column and the roof or arch it supports. Okay. While the term can sometimes be an archaic spelling for a chapter, okay, of a book, it is almost exclusively used in architecture or historical texts today. Okay, so a chapter, what I want you to think about, okay, he says in the beginning. Okay, we know beginning is Rashith or Rosh, the head. Okay, and we're looking at the word chapter. Chapter is the most decorative part of a column that supports the load. Okay, but also um, it says the most decorative transition between the straight shaft of the column and the roof or the arch of its support. Okay, it says it serves to spread the load from the structure above. Okay, so Elohim is the chapter. He is the most decorative, and he is holding the load of all things. Okay, all right. So if he's the chapter, okay, just remember that if he's the chapter, okay, let's hear what else is going to go on in this verse. All right, so he's the chapter, he's supporting the load, or everything is hung on him, right? All right, and he's the most decorative. Okay, he's the most beautiful, the most majestic, the most powerful. Okay, all right, so that's something that I want y'all to remember. Okay, Elohim is the chapter. All right, the column. Okay, of the column. All right, going back. And the next word we're looking at again, it is the first uh, three major words, okay? The next one is created, all right? We're not going to actually look at the word created, but when we see this and we look in the concordance, all right, it says created, and it has a coordinates after it. It says, and that coordinates is H1254, and that's for the direct word for created. But it has another um, concordance, Strong's concordance after it, and it's H853. Okay, so this concordant, every time we see it, is significant. Okay, and it's putting significance on the word it is behind. Okay, all right. So H853, we're going to look into that. All right, and it is off. Okay, all right, and it says apparently contracted from H226, all right, in the demonstrative sense of entity. Okay, properly self, but generally used to point out more definitely the object of a verb or preposition, even or namely, as such unrepresented in English. So this word is emphasis, okay, of an entity, of a object or a thing or a verb, is giving emphasis to the word it is behind. Okay. All right, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into it, and it's H226, off. Okay, the Hebrew word off. Okay, it says properly from H225, which we'll go into here as well. And it says in the sense of appearing. Okay, a signal, literally or figuratively, as a flag, a beacon, monument, omen, prodigy, evidence, etc. Mark, miracle, all right, um, a sign, or token. So it is a mark. It is showing something. It's flagging, saying, "Hey, this is me," or "This is that thing. This is the spot." Okay, this belongs to. Okay, so it is a signal saying it belongs to, or it's saying that this is significance. This has a significance. All right, so we're gonna go into it a little bit further, and it says H225, and it says a off, okay, or uth, I'm sorry. And it says a primitive root properly to come, that is impliedly to assent, okay, or consent. All right. So it means also that you'll hear this in the Bible, that it will be a mark or a token, that you show that you are Elohim's and Elohim is yours. Okay, so this is consent. So that means you're consenting to um his Torah, or the things that he want, his commandments. Okay, it's showing that you are his because you're consenting to his way. All right. So anytime that you see the word off, or you see the coordinates H 853, okay, that's what it means. It means that, hey, I am his, I am following in his way, okay? Or he said he created, and this is something that he does. It does not change. He is the creator and he created, all right? So it is a pillar of something that he did that will never change, or it's marking something that is of his, okay? So now that we went over those words in this first verse, now we're going to look at this verse again. I'm going to read it, King James Version. It says, in the beginning, all right, Elohim created the heaven and the earth. All right, and what we're going to look at first is the the reference after Elohim, or the reference for Elohim. Okay, all right, so reference for Elohim, we're going to go to Exodus 20, verse 11. Okay, this is going to be in the New Living Translation, and it says, "For in 6 days the Lord," which I'm not going to always use that word, those words, but it says, "In 6 days the Lord made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and everything in them, but on the seventh day he rested. That is why the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and set it apart as holy." Okay, so this is giving emphasis of what Elohim did. Okay, all right, to say, when we look at in this verse, is saying, hey, who is Elohim? Elohim made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and everything in them. Okay, all right, so we know who Elohim is and what he does. So we're gonna go to another one, Exodus 31:18. All right, the reference is, when the Lord finished speaking with Moses on Mount Sinai, he gave him the 2 stone tablets inscribed with the terms of the covenant written by the finger of Elohim. All right. So we know who Elohim and what he has done. All right. One more is going to be First Chronicles 16:26, and it says, Elohims of other nations are mere idols, but the Lord made the heavens. So this is giving you a separation, okay? And it says the Elohims, or the gods of other nations. Now, that's deep right there, because there's a differentiation, all right, between Elohim, the Elohim, okay, and the Elohims of other nations. All right, so there's a difference. Okay, so I'm gonna click onto that, and then we're gonna go a little bit deeper. I'm gonna read that in the King James version, and it says, for all the gods, okay, Elohims of the people are idols, okay, but the Lord made the heavens. Okay, so let's real quick, we're gonna go into another word here real quick, since we already doing this. All right, we're gonna go into idols. All right, we're gonna go into idol, and that is H457, idols. Okay, and it is Alil is the Hebrew word on okay, and it says, apparently from H408, and it says good for nothing. Okay, we're on the idols, Alil. Okay, Alil, good for nothing, by analogy, vain or vanity. All right, especially an idol. Okay, idol, no value, thing of not. So we're talking about Elohim, and he says other Elohim of other nations. Okay. And we're talking about idols. We're looking up idols, and it says good for nothing, by analogy, vain or vanity. Specifically, an idol. Idol, no value, thing of Noth. Okay. All right. So he's saying this. Okay. We went a little bit deeper, and this is H408, and it says all is the Hebrew word. Okay. And it says a negative particle akin to H3808, and it says not. Okay, it means not. All right. The qualified negation, okay, used as a deprecative, okay, once, okay, as a noun, nothing, nay, neither, never, no, nor, not, nothing, worth, rather than. Okay, so a lot of times in church, when we hear idol, we only thinking of a stony thing that people worship. Okay, so here in this scripture, it said in First Chronicles, it says Elohim of other nations. Okay, so Elohim we know also can mean angels. Okay, Elohim of other nations. All right, so what he's saying is those Elohims are the idols that people are worshiping. Okay, so he's not saying that there is no other Elohim, okay, in the Bible, because that's not taught in the church. Okay, these Elohim that they connect to these stony things are real. Okay, they are real. Okay, but he's saying, especially compared to the Elohim, to Yahuwah, the Most High, okay, they are nothing. They are vain. Okay, do they give you powers of some sort? Yes, but they are nothing. It's only vain or vanity, the things that they give you, and it will be a snare to you. It will be a trap, because you are not worshiping the Most High. You're worshiping something lesser. Okay, so that is something that I want you to understand from the very beginning. All right. What I wanted y'all to know is that there are, okay, idols are a real thing, even though we as human beings, when we worship idols, these stony things or bracelets or things, they have an entity connected to them. Those are angels. Those are Elohim, okay, not good ones. And when you do that, they're good for nothing. They're in vain or vanity. Okay, so those things are real, because this world is a spiritual world and it is not taught in the Bible. Okay, so going back to Genesis 1, we got a handle on Elohim. Okay, the references for Elohim, we know he is the head. All right, he is the head. All right, he created the heavens and the earth. All right, and he in 6 days, and he rested on the seventh. Okay, we know that he gave Moses the tablets. All right, we know who Elohim is. All right, the next reference we're going to go to is going to be beginning, in the beginning, and this first reference is Proverb 8:22 through 24. And I'm reading this one in New Living Translation, and it says, the Lord formed me from the beginning, before he created anything else. I was appointed in the age past, at the very first, before the earth began. I was born before the oceans were created, before the springs bubbled forth their waters. All right, who are we talking to? It says, the Lord formed me from the beginning, before he created anything else. All right, so we're looking at the word beginning and the references that they're giving for beginning. And it says, somebody was there at the very beginning. And Who is that? Let's go and go to the next one. Okay. The next one is Proverbs 16:4, and it says, "The Lord has made everything for his own pleasures, even the wicked for a day of disaster." All right. So in the beginning, this is just giving more information about the beginning. He set everything up for himself, for his purpose. Even he set up the wicked, okay, for its own purpose for a day of disaster. All right. So the wicked, from the beginning, it has an endpoint to disaster. Okay. So something to know, in the beginning, all of this was set up. All right. Let's go to the next reference for the beginning in verse 1, John chapter 1, verse 1 through 3. And it says, "In the beginning, the Word already existed. The Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. He existed in the beginning with Elohim. Elohim created everything through him, and nothing was created except through him." All right, it's getting deep here. It's getting deep here. Give me 1 second. Yep, it's getting deep here. I'm going to go into that. All right, and I'm going to read this again. All right, because I want to go into a few things. It says, again, it says, "In the beginning, the Word already existed." All right, we know already in Proverbs 8, he said, the Lord, this is King James, it says, "The Lord me possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his works of old." Okay. All right. So in the beginning, we know he created somebody, or he gave birth to somebody. Okay. All right. And it says here again, it says, "In the beginning, the Word already existed. The Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim." He existed in the beginning with Elohim. He created everything. Elohim created everything through him, and nothing was created except through him. The Word gave life to everything that was created, and his life brought light to everything. All right. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. Okay. All right. So obviously, well, I'm not going to say that. Let's real quick go back, and we'll probably revisit this here just a second. Let's go back to Genesis 1. All right, and we're going to go to that last one. All right, and it says, the last reference to beginning is 1 John 1 and 1. Okay, 1 John chapter 1, verse 1, and it says, "We proclaim to you the one who existed from the beginning, whom we have heard and seen. We saw him with our own eyes and touched him with our own hands. He is the Word of life." So who is this at the beginning that was created before everything? It is the Messiah. Okay. It is the Messiah. It is the Mashiach. Okay. Mashiach is the Hebrew word for Messiah. Okay. All right. So Yahusha, okay, most people call him Jesus. We'll get into that in the future. All right. Yahusha was created at the beginning. So in the beginning, he was created first. He was born. Well, he was born first. Okay, he was born first. He existed, so he wasn't created. I always say he was born or existed first in the beginning. Okay, all right. So he, all right, was involved in creating all things. So, with that being said, let's go to Job. All right, real quick, we're gonna go to Job, talking about the beginning. Okay, all right, Job. This is where Elohim is getting spicy with Job. Okay, Elohim, Job 38 1 through 6. All right. Um, I'm going to I'm going to read 1 through 6 real quick. All right. And it says, Then the Lord answered Job from the whirlwind, Who is this that questioned my wisdom with such ignorant words? Okay. Brace yourself like a man, because I have some questions for you, and you must answer them. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me if you know so much. Who determined its dimensions and stretched out the surveying lines? What supports its foundation, and who laid its cornerstone? All right. So, and I'll read one more verse, and it says, As the morning stars sang together, and all the angels shouted for joy. Okay. All right. I'll read the last two one more time. It says, what supports its foundation, and who laid its cornerstone? As the morning stars sang together, and all the angels shouted for joy. All right. So the reason why I'm reading this is for Job 38 verse 6, and it says, what supports its foundation? Or also where it says Job 38 verse 4, it says, Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Okay, so we're looking at foundations. Okay, back to 6. Um, we're going to go to, we're talking about the foundation now, okay? And it says, and we're talking about still emphasis on the beginning, because we know who was there at the beginning. The Mashiach, the Messiah, was there at the beginning. Okay, yeah. So this is what I'm gonna read. All right, we're gonna go to Matthew chapter 21, verse 42, and it says, Then the Mashiach, or Yahusha, asked them, Didn't you ever read this in scripture? The stone that the builders rejected have now become the cornerstone. That is the Lord's doing, and it is wonderful to see. All right. So, who did the builders reject? Okay. The builders rejected the Mashiach, Yahusha. Okay. All right. And Yahusha is what? The cornerstone. So he is the cornerstone. He is the foundation. All right. Of the earth. All right. I did all this. I went through all this because this is important. Now, now we have to think about the chapter. Okay. Yahuwah is the chapter. He's the decorative piece that spreads out to hold the foundation of the ceiling, and everything hangs on him. But Yahusha is the cornerstone. He is the foundation of the earth. So in the beginning, those two were there. You have the chapter, which is the Most High, Yahuwah, and then you have the foundation, which is Yahusha, okay, the cornerstone of the earth. All right. So in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. All right. So it's good to know. All right. This makes me excited. All right. Going back to Genesis 1. All right. So um so everything that we read thus far, okay, it this has um verse 1 actually tells you the order in which everything was created. Okay. So first it was the chapter, it was Yahuwah, okay, it was the most high, and Elohim and Yahusha was born and existed before he created the earth, okay? Because he had hands in creating everything. Um, and then when we went to Job, let's go back to Job real quick. All right, and it says, "What support? What? So So he created the heavens, okay? So it was Yahuwah, Yahusha. It was Yahuwah, then Yahusha, okay? And he created the heavens, okay? He created the heavens and things in the heavens, all right? So that's the order so far. And it says here in Job 38, verse 6, it says, "What supports its foundation and who laid its cornerstone?" And then it says, "As the morning stars sang together, and all the angels shouted for joy." So we know the next thing in the heavens, okay, it was Yahuwah, the Most High, then it was Yahusha, and then obviously the next thing in the heavens, okay, was created the angels. So the next thing it says, "The morning stars sang together, and all the angels shouted for joy." Okay, that is the order. All right. And then they shouted for joy because Yahusha, what supports the foundation. So they shouted for joy while Yahusha supported the foundations of the earth. Okay, so the very first verse explains the order which things were created. All right, in the beginning, Elohim created the heaven and the earth. All right, so that capsulized everything in the order in which it was made. All right, verse 2, King James Version. Okay, verse 2, King James Version, and it says, "And the earth was without form and void, the darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the spirit of Elohim, the Ruach Hakadosh, moved upon the face of the waters." All right. First things first is we're going to go over the words. All right. We're going to go into the strong concordance. All right. And we're going to um, look at where it says the darkness was upon the face of the deep. All right. And we're looking at darkness. All right. Darkness. And the strong concordance is H2822, and it is Kasha. All right. And it says from H2821, the dark, hence literally darkness. All right. Figuratively, misery, destruction, death, ignorance, sorrow, wickedness. All right. Darkness, night, obscurity. All right. So it said that in darkness was upon the face of the deep. All right. All right. Darkness. All right. So misery, destruction, death, ignorance, sorrow, wickedness. All right. All right. And it was dark. It was literally dark. All right. So not only it was just dark, but it was also destruction. Okay. Um, uh, Death, ignorance, sorrow, wickedness. Really, that's what I want to zone in on is the word wickedness. And it says wickedness and darkness was upon the face of the waters or the deep. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go in a little bit deeper here. All right. Kashak, okay, is the Hebrew word again. All right. A primitive root. All right. To be dark, as withholding light. All right. Transitively, to darken. All right. Be black, be make dark, be make dark or make dark. Darkened, cause darkness, be dim, hide. All right. So this is a primitive root word of darkness. Okay. Um, to darken. All right. To to be wicked. To darken. To 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 hide. All right. To cause destruction. So this is what we want to think about when we hear that part where it says, "And darkness was upon the face of the waters," or face of the deep. Okay. All right. So thinking about that, and then we're going to go to the word upon. And it says the Hebrew concordance, strong concordance is H5923. All right. All. Okay. All right. And it says um, properly the same as H5920, used as a preposition in the singular and plural, uh, often with prefix, or a conjugation with a particle following, above, over, upon, or against. Okay. Yet always in the last relation with a downward aspect. Okay. Downward aspect. All right. Um, a great variety of applications above, um, according to, after, as against, okay, as among, and as at, because of, beside, the rest of, between, beyond, the time, both, and, by reason of, all right, had the charge of, concerning, for, in that, for, in forth, in forth out, or in out, forth of, out of, from, off, up, upon, over, than, through, out, to, touching, with. Okay. So I went a little bit deeper into H5920, and it says it's from H5927, properly the top. Okay. Specifically specifically the highest. Okay. That is Elohim, big G, or God. Also, adverbally aloft, to Yahuwah. We'll get into that. Above, high, most high. Okay, so all also means um, Elohim. Short for Elohim is El, or all. Okay, so it can be all again. So it gets a little confusing. It's something that you have to understand the Hebrew word, the Hebrew language and text. Okay, that we'll get into that when we speak about the name of the Most High. So we're going to go a little bit deeper into H5927. All right, and it says Allah. All right, Allah. Okay, all right, and we're still talking about upon. All right, this came from upon. So the word that we think of upon, in the Hebrew word, it meant something much deeper than just upon. Okay, it's like an oppression. Okay, against. All right, and it says a primitive root to ascend, um, intransitively, be high or active, mound, mount, used in a great variety of sense, primary and secondary, literally and figuratively, arise, up, calls to ascend up, at once, break, the day. All right, so day break. All right, up, bring up, calls to burn, carry up, cast up, shoe, climb up, calls to, make to, come up, cut off, dawn, depart, exalt, excel, fall. Okay, this is typically where we're going here. Fetch, fetch up, get up, make to, go, go up, grow over. Okay, grow over, increase, lay, leap, levy, lift up, lift self up, light, make up, mention, mount up, offer, make to pay, perfect, prefer, put on, rise, recover, restore, make to, rise up, scale, set up, shoot forth up, begin to, spring up, stir up, take away, up, work. Okay, so I wanted to read all of this so that we understand, okay, when it says, and darkness, wickedness, and ignorance, and destruction was upon the face of deep, okay, upon the face of deep. So we know that there is something there, okay, and we're going to go to the concordance. We're going to go backwards to the word void. All right, backwards to the word void. All right, and it is H922. All right, and is Bahu. Bahu. Okay, Bahu is the Hebrew word. Okay, and it's from an unused root. All right, meaning to be empty. All right, a vacuity. Okay, a vacuity. All right, that is um, superficially an undistinguishable ruin. All right, undistinguishable ruin, emptiness, void, undistinguishable, superficially an undistinguishable ruin. So that means superficially on the surface, okay, it's undistinguishable, all right, in a ruin. So what we see, which would be the superficial things, it says undistinguishable ruin. All right, so it is void, but something is there because it says without form. Okay, the earth was without form and void, undistinguishable ruin, and darkness, okay, wickedness was against the face of the deep. All right, so what could that be? All right, we know at this time when things was created, all right, it was first created. It was the chapter, the Most High. Then it was the foundation. Okay, the Mashiach, Yahusha. Okay, and then it was the angels. All right, then it was the earth. All right, so something was there on the earth at that time. Okay, to create darkness. All right, and we know at some point there was some disorder throughout the existence. All right. So, with that being said, all right, with that disorder, and I'm not going to get specifically in there, okay, because um, we did talk about, and I'm gonna might as well say it. We did talk about idols or other Elohim, which are angels. All right, but um, as we read this, okay, and it says, and the spirit of Yahuwah moved upon the face of the waters. All right, so the spirit of Yahuwah moved upon the face of the water. So first it was darkness was upon the face of the deep, the wickedness, the chaos, all right, the destruction, the ignorance, all right, was upon the face. And then it says, and the spirit of Elohim moved upon the face of the waters. All right. So when he moved upon the face of the waters, which we're not going to go into the next verses, but we're going to go back to John. All right. We're going to go back to John chapter 1, verse 5. And it says, the word gave life to everything that it was created. We're reading 4. That everything was created, and his life brought light to everyone. And then verse 5 says, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. All right. And I'm going to read this verse 5 again in King James, and it says, and the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended comprehended it not. The darkness could not comprehend the light. So, with that being said, all right, as we look at Genesis chapter 1 verse 2, and it says, and the spirit of Elohim moved upon the face of the waters. Spirit of Elohim moved upon the face of the waters. And it says here, John 1 and 5, and it says, the light shines, or I'm going to read King James, and the light shineth in darkness. Okay, in the face of the deep shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. All right. So we know what that's going to lead to with going into the third verse of Genesis. All right. So the darkness, those entities that was upon the face of the deep, when the spirit of Elohim moved, the darkness moved upon the face of the waters. All right. The darkness could not comprehend it not. All right. Or could not comprehend it. All right. So he could not extinguish the light. All right. As it says in the New Living Translation. All right. So what we're going to do here real quick is now we're going to look, and I kind of went all the way into it already. Let's see. We're going to go and look at without. Okay. So in verse 2, it says, and the water was without form. Okay. Without form, we're going to Job 26 and 7, and it says, without. Okay. And it says, Elohim stretched the northern sky over empty space and hung the earth on nothing. All right. So he's the chapter. He hung the earth on nothing. Right. He's the chapter. He can do that. It's on his will that he's hanging this. All right. So that's what it means. That's what it means when it says without form. Okay. All right. Without. All right. We're going to go back and read Isaiah verse 45, chapter 45, verse 18, and it says, for the Lord is Elohim, or for Yahuwah is Elohim, and he created the heavens and earth and put everything in place. He made the world to be lived in, not to be a place of empty chaos. All right, so undistinguishable emptiness, okay, talking about the superficial, chaos. All right, so again, there's something there. All right, all right, and then it says, I am Yahuwah, he says, and there is no other. All right, I am the most high, and there is no other. All right, last one with the reference of without, okay, without form. All right, Jeremiah um, chapter 4, verse 23, and it says, I looked at the earth, and it was empty and formless. I looked at the heavens, and there was no light. All right, so um, without form, there was no light. All right, without form or without order, you can also say. All right, and then the next reference that we're going to look at is um, the spirit of Yahuwah. All right, the spirit of Yahuwah. All right, we're looking at Job 26:14, and it says, these are just the beginning of all that he does, merely a whisper of his power. Who then can comprehend the thunder of his power? Just a whisper. So we're talking about the spirit of Yahuwah, the spirit of Elohim, okay? And it's again, it says merely a whisper of his power. This is just the beginning was just a merely whisper of his power. Who can comprehend the thunder of his power? All right, talking about the Ruach Hadash. All right, Psalms 33:6, and it says, um, the Lord or Elohim merely spoke, and the heavens were created. He breathed the word, and all the stars were born. Okay, talking about his power. Psalms 104, verse 30. When you give them your breath, life is created, and you renew the face of the earth. Okay, this is his power. The power of his Ruach Hadash is the spirit of Yahuwah. All right, last one is Isaiah uh, 40, verse 12 through 14, and it says, who else has held the oceans in his hand? Who has measured out, who's measured off the heavens with his finger? Who else knows the weight of the earth, or has weighed the mountains and hills on a scale? Who is able to advise the spirit of Yahuwah, or the spirit of the Lord? Who knows enough to give him advice or teach him? Has Yahuwah ever needed anyone's advice? Does he need instructions about what is good? Did someone teach him what is right or show him the path of justice? No. So, as we read these two verses, it was a lot of information, and we know that in the beginning, okay, Yah, in the beginning with Elohim was the Mashiach, okay? So the Mashiach was in existence. He was born from Yahuwah. He was the Word and he was the light, okay? And Elohim is the chapiter, the decorative, the most high part that holds the foundation of the ceiling, okay? And while the foundation is the Mashiach that holds the earth, okay? All right? And Yahuwah created, all right? And that is something that is a sign of his work, the off, okay? All right, he created the heavens and the earth, And we know when he created the heavens, he created the angels after the Mashiach, okay? And while he was creating the earth, the other Elohim, the other angels, okay, was singing. The angels and the morning stars were singing with joyous for the work that Yah has done. And then it says in verse 2, it says, "And the earth was without form and void." Form, it was darkness, no order. It was void, and void meaning that it was an undistinguishable, okay, um, emptiness. But there was something there because it was darkness, okay, wickedness, ignorance, destruction that was resting upon the face of the deep. And then the spirit of Yahuwah, the spirit of Elohim, moved upon the face of the earth, okay, and the darkness could not comprehend the light. It could not extinguish the light. All right. So, light being the Mashiach, okay, the Mashiach came, darkness was gone. All right. Then he started building. All right. And creating. All right. So, in the beginning, Elohim created. All right. And the darkness could not comprehend the light. So I hope this was informative, and I hope this is a seed of understanding, and that it will take you further in wanting to know more about the word of Elohim, the word of Yahuwah. So thank y'all for listening, and I'll see y'all next time.